Welcome back to the Road to National series. In today's episode, I'm going to take you through an upper max workout. So to start off here, my max effort variation for the week was a banded board press. Now, I've never actually done a banded board press before, but I have done a regular board press and I'd managed to get 167.5 kilos on that board press. And I felt with bands, what I should be aiming for is around 180 kilos total bar plus band tension. Now there, I was a bit ambitious in my drum, tried to do 120 kilos of bar weight or 190 kilos total bar plus band tension. So I lowered the weight here and went for 110 kilos of bar weight and managed to move it pretty comfortably. So I went up one last time to 115 kilos of bar weight. I thought that this should be about perfect. Now I was having some unracking issues. You might have just seen it there. I mainly skipped through it, but it meant that this first attempt I failed. Now I was very annoyed and fatigue was building up from all the max attempts I'd been doing, but I decided to go one last time at 115 kilos and I basically just attacked the weight and managed to get it up. And as you can see, I was pretty stoked about that. So a successful max effort, and I'm going to continue to work on board presses in general because they're heavier. I'm just wanting to get myself ready to handle massive weights week by week and generally conditioned to handle like 180 kilos so that when I come to try and bench 160 kilos, my body from the unrack and all along is much more confident and prepared for those heavier loads. So the first accessory here is Anderson JM press. So this is where you allow the bar to come down onto pins, and the main benefit of this is that you do not get the stretch reflex, or you don't get as much of the stretch reflex in the bottom position when you have to press off the pins, and it's going to help train your triceps to generate power from a dead stop. Now obviously for that to be beneficial, if you're going to do this as well, you have to let the bar rest on the pins for a second. If you're going to bounce it off, it completely defeats the point of this exercise. However, I felt that this is going to be massively beneficial for my triceps since I've moved my grip in on a bench press to emphasize my triceps more. I've done that because my triceps genetically feel much stronger than my chest, and I'm actually just stronger benching with a closer grip than a wider grip. I feel like working on my triceps like this is very, very important. This is probably the most important accessory that I'm going to do today, and I felt like it hit my triceps great. Right there, there is literally a big burning in the triceps. So moving on to the next accessory here, it is lat pull downs. It is mag grip lat pull downs with a sort of mid distance mag grip and slightly supinated grip. So this variation is probably the variation that I'm strongest at of all of the lat pull downs of all the various mag grips, and I managed to get 200 pounds for a set of 12 here on the first set, and then on the second set I think I got it for a set of 10, but I did a drop set, so it got lighter and I eked out some extra reps and intensity and volume. But these have progressed massively over the last year, after the last few months. So my lat pull down strength in general was plateaued at about 160 pounds for sets of 12, and then boom, suddenly I'm 40 pounds stronger in basically since starting this series, and I attribute that to a few things. First of all, I bought these mag grip grips, and that allows me to do different variations, and they apply a slightly different training stimulus to my back each time, and doing that is going to help overcome the law of accommodation, which is if you do the same thing over and over, you're eventually going to plateau and get worse. So these added variations I do think has helped. And then the other thing is I only do 2 sets per accessory now instead of 3, and I just train much more intensely. Like you can see there, my back was absolutely burning, the exact same as with my triceps. I try and train very hard, and since I've done that, I basically try and go all out on the first set and then match it on the second set, or if I fail, I do a drop set, which is what I do on these chest press as well as the lat pull downs. It has basically massively improved my strength. Case in point, with these chest presses as well, I am doing 240 pounds. I think I managed to get a set of 13 here on the first set. Well, my weight stack used to only go to 210 pounds before I bought an upgrade before starting this series, and I literally couldn't even do that 210 pounds for a set of 10. And then since training 2 sets really intensely, I can now do these 240 pounds for set of 13 here. So the pressing and chest strength has grown as well as the back. And I think that developing all the individual muscular strengths, that is the point of accessories, is really carrying over to my bench. For instance, my bench was plateaued at about 130 kilos for like almost 2 years. Honestly, I never thought I would break through that. I was sort of worried that I was at my genetic limit. And then I started overloading my accessories better, picking smarter maxes, changing my programming, lowering my volume massively. I used to have programmed about triple the amount of sets of accessories per week for both upper and lower. And I think that caused my knee injury as well. That huge amount of volume was just too much for my body to handle. So since stopping doing that and programming smarter, I am getting so much stronger and using individual accessories like this. My bench is now 150 kilos, and then more recently I hit a close grip bench for 150 kilos. So my normal grip bench should be a bit higher than that, but the progressing element of the bench press is definitely going to plan, and I attribute that massively to how hard I'm pushing these accessories. So the next accessory here was bicep curls. So I probably was ego lifting a bit here. I managed to get sets of 6. On the first set I used the slight supinated grip, and here I used the neutral grip. And these are good for hitting the biceps. I'm basically just training the biceps to help round out the arms, build up some general mass, and they are actually a stabilizer in the bench. If you've ever like misgrooved a bench or moved it across the side and then had huge bicep inflammation on your bicep tendon over your elbow, that is because the bench can fatigue the biceps as well, and they are stabilization muscles. So I do train my biceps just to try and have a well-rounded, strong body. And someday I might start doing strongman. That is actually what my first competition was in, and whilst I'm prioritizing powerlifting now, biceps are really important in strongman. So I might start going for like strict curl maxes as well, because I find that fun as well as powerlifting. So the next accessory here is the loo raises. So I did these in my last workout and I find them to be incredible. Now I'm only doing them with 5 kilos here, but by the end my shoulders were so pumped. Doing that extra range of motion from where your arms are like parallel to the ground up compared with normal side laterals, this top bit, it is so much harder. And it forces the shoulders and your delts to contract way more. They're going into a significantly more contract position, and I just find that it targets the delts amazingly. So it was originally done by Liu Xiaojun, who is literally probably the goat of Olympic weightlifting, a Chinese weightlifter, and he used to do them with plates, but I'm doing them with dumbbells here for the sake of simplicity, and it's a bit easier on the grip. But these pumped up the shoulders like nothing I've ever done, and I definitely want to make these a regular part of my training. I'm going to try and build it up to the point where I can, one, at least do 15 kilo dumbbells. Like I can't even really do a single rep at 15 kilos, but I want to really get it so that my delts are strong enough to do like 20 kilos for sets of at least 10 or something. And then at that stage, my delts will be so strong that I feel like my overhead pressing will go up, but it'll carry out over to the bench as well. I've never really trained my delts as well. Before the start of this series, I've always prioritized the chest because that is a genetic weak point, and I think that that's more important for benching. And I felt that my delts would take over, and I hate that feeling where your front delt is fatigued when you tried to hit your chest and your chest is fine and it's just pain in the front of your shoulders. That used to always annoy me, so I just sort of boycotted training delts, but they are back, and with the loo raises it feels fantastic. So the final accessory here is cable crunches. Now I like to do cable crunches with this dip belt. It helps isolate your abs way more, and you can go way heavier. So I find with usual cable crunches where you sort of hold like a long rope or hold some crunching attachment, my grip or my arms fatigue first. Like the pressure going through them, if I tried to do like 100 kilo curls like I'm doing here, 100 kilo curls, crunches. If I tried to do 100 kilo crunches like I'm doing here, there is no way I could hold that weight with my arms without it slipping up my sort of shoulders each rep and just being really uncomfortable. However, when you do it with a dip belt like that, what happens is you can focus on your on your abs way more. So here, for the only drawback, as you can see, is trying to get into position is hard because you can use heavier weights. You have to sort of try and wriggle your way down with your body weight. And if you can see, I've moved the bench pad at the back to be behind my butt, and that is really essential. Without that, you sort of just get pulled straight up. So if you're going to do this on a normal cable machine, you're going to need a bench in front to help anchor yourself to, and ideally something for you to hook your feet under, because I'm hooking my knees under where like the quad extension pads are. But it's a fantastic exercise and hit these abs amazingly. This second set in particular, they really burned badly. So that is it for today's video. I hope you did in fact enjoy the video. If you did, drop it a like, drop it a comment, subscribe, click the bell, all of that good stuff, and have a great day.